He called me his angel, then buried me to save his crown. But I didn't stay dead. I came back with scars, a plan, and his forgotten brother at my side. Now the empire they built on my back? Where's my name? And the boy they tried to erase? He's the face of their ruin. They wanted a quiet wife. I became their reckoning. If you told me a year ago that I'd drive a Porsche into the lion's den just to watch a man kneel in frosting, I would have laughed. But not today. Today I had my foot on the gas, my sunglasses perched just right, and my best friend Lily in the passenger seat smirking like a devil. Wow, she said, brushing a hair from her lip. I can smell the desperation from here. We cruised around the final curve before the hotel came into view. There it was, the Hartley Grand. 5 stars of chandeliers, violins and well-dressed parasites. The entrance was dressed to impress, decked in white roses and gold-trimmed banners that read, "Welcome home, Ava Sinclair." How poetic. They thought I was walking into a fairy tale. But I'd already read the last chapter of this story in another life. Back then I'd walked into this same hotel with trembling hands and a heart that fluttered at the mere sound of Logan Price's name. He'd proposed to me that night, dropping to one knee like a prince. I'd cried. Said yes. Thought I'd found my forever. 3 months later I was scrubbing floors while he courted another woman behind my back. 6 months later I was dead. This time I wasn't walking, I was arriving. In heels that could stab and a smile that could slice. I pulled the Porsche up to the valet. Logan was already waiting at the curb, bouquet in hand, his signature smirk plastered across his smug face. His suit was tailored to perfection, his hair sculpted with intention. Even his watch, gold flashy, screamed borrowed time. As I stepped out of the car, the breeze caught the hem of my coat and for a moment the world paused. He looked at me like a starving man eyeing a feast. "Ava," he breathed. "You look." I cocked a brow. "Alive." He chuckled nervously and offered the bouquet. 99 red roses. In the center, a white card tucked between the petals. I plucked it out and read it silently. "Welcome home, my dearest angel." How fitting. That's what he used to call me. His angel. Back when I still believed monsters could love. I smiled sweetly and took the bouquet. "Shall we?" he said, offering his arm. I didn't take it. The hotel staff opened the double doors for us. Inside, the ballroom was dressed like a wedding. White linens, a small stage, and at the center of it all a 4-tier white cake, surrounded by cameras and press. "You planned a celebration," I said, eyeing the guests. He adjusted his cufflink. "A welcome. You've been gone so long and he hesitated. "I needed to show you how serious I am." "Serious?" He had Serena cross-warming his sheets a month after our wedding date. "But sure. Serious." I let him lead me to the cake, still silent. Every photographer was ready. "Ready?" Logan whispered. "I've been waiting for this." He stepped beside the cake and lifted a hand. "I want everyone here to know," he said, projecting his voice to the crowd, "that this woman, Ava Sinclair, is the only woman I've ever loved." That was his line. Always the charmer. Always the liar. A spotlight flicked on. He reached for a velvet box in his pocket. "Ava," he said, lowering to one knee. "Marry me." Gasps filled the air. Camera clicked. I saw Lily biting her cheek near the back, barely holding in a laugh. I glanced down at him. At the ring. At the cake. Then I saw it. The top tier of the cake. It was delicately frosted, pristine, almost glowing under the lights. And written in elegant gold icing, just barely visible now that I was close. "Happy birthday, Serena Cross." My smile dropped. Then returned sharper. I reached down slowly, gently plucking a rose from the bouquet. Then another. And another. Until I was holding the entire stem, the thorns still intact. And I swung. The bouquet hit his cheek, petals scattering, the thorns leaving angry red lines. He froze, stunned. "Ava." I stepped closer and hissed, "Logan. Look at the cake." He blinked, turning just enough to see it. The name. The silence in the room turned cold. I bent slightly, picked up the small white card from earlier and read it aloud. "My dearest angel." I ripped it down the center and let the pieces float to the floor. "I'm not your angel," I said. Then I smiled for the cameras. The velvet box in his hand trembled. I didn't know they wrote, "That's not what." "Save it," I cut in. "Tell it to Serena." I'm sure she'll love the frosting. He rose shakily to his feet. Please, Ava. Just let me explain. No, I stepped back. The only thing I want from you is distance. I turned on my heel. Lily was already holding the door open. As I walked out, the whispers started. The murmurs. The camera flashes. Logan stood in the middle of the ballroom holding a ring no one wanted, standing next to a cake no one could eat. What a tragic little prince. Outside, the night air was crisp. I slid into the driver's seat as Lily laughed beside me. Did you see his face? She said. You turned that man into a meme in under 60 seconds. I adjusted the rearview mirror. Let's hope it trends. As I started the engine, I didn't look back. Because the past was dead. And Logan Price. He just joined it. The moment I slammed the door on Logan Price's fairy tale proposal, I thought I'd feel lighter. Freer. Victorious. But the truth? It was only the beginning. Because before Serena Cross ever stepped into Logan's bed, before my money propped up his failing empire, before I learned to hide my bruises beneath silk sleeves, I had already been broken. Not just by him but by everyone around him. Especially his parents. Back then. You don't know how to cook. Mrs. Price's voice was sharp, slicing through the kitchen like the cleaver the first desperately wanted to use. I've never cooked before, I admitted. My hands trembled as I tried to crack eggs into a pan. The yolks spilled everywhere. She scoffed, grabbing the spatula from my grip. What kind of woman doesn't know how to make breakfast for her husband? I was 25. Raised in a home with housekeepers, private tutors, etiquette classes. Not kitchen grease and barked orders. I was trying. For Logan. He had kissed my forehead that morning and whispered, "Just keep Mom happy today, all right?" Then he left me alone in a house filled with strangers who hated me. Mr. Price, meanwhile, lounged in the living room, munching sunflower seeds like he was watching a sitcom. "Still no baby, huh?" he called out. "What's the holdup? Logan's not shooting blanks." Laughter. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. That night I curled up on the cold marble bathroom floor. My stomach empty. My heart even emptier. And when Logan came home, he didn't notice the untouched food. He didn't ask why I hadn't eaten. He only asked where his black socks were. No. 3 days after the ruined proposal, the Price family showed up at my estate's gate, looking like knockoff royalty. A butler informed me they were here. "I told you," he said with a mischievous grin. "They even brought props." Props? I peeked through the camera. Mr. and Mrs. Price stood at the entrance in pastel-colored outfits that screamed fake elegance. In their hands, a box of health supplements, a few shopping bags labeled with off-brand logos, and a sad bouquet of carnations. Logan stood slightly behind them, still bearing faint scratches from the rose thorns I had left across his cheek. I didn't come down right away. Instead, I let Nina, my housekeeper, handle them. She opened the gate, her face blank as a marble statue. "No dogs or clowns allowed." Mrs. Price gasped like she'd been slapped. "How dare you?" "I'm just following orders," Nina said smoothly. "Would you like to wait on the curb? Call Ava." Logan barked. "Tell her we came to apologize." "I'll pass it along," she said, already turning away. The argument escalated quickly. I could hear them screaming even from the second-floor balcony. Eventually, I grew tired of the noise and made my way downstairs, sipping jasmine tea. "Let them in," I said, more amused than irritated. Nina gave me a questioning look, but I nodded. "Let them come. Let them grovel. Let me watch them squirm." They entered like a trio of bad actors. Mrs. Price immediately started fake crying. "Ava, darling, we came to make peace. All that unpleasantness at the hotel, it was just nerves. Right, dear?" She nudged Logan, who looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. I sat on the sofa, legs crossed, and stared at them. Mr. Price placed the boxes on the coffee table. "We brought some tonic supplements. Expensive ones. Good for your skin." I tilted my head. "Did you check the expiration date?" He blinked. "What?" "Never mind," I said, waving at Nina. "Toss them." Nina picked up the boxes and bags and carried them straight out the front door. We all heard the thunk as they landed in the trash bin. Mrs. Price's smile twitched. "Also," I added, "you don't have the right to comment on how my staff speaks. You lost that privilege when you let me scrub your toilets for a year." Mr. Price opened his mouth to speak, But Nina returned and stood behind me, arms folded. "You're excused," I said. "Unless you've got something better than clearance supplements and crocodile tears." "Logan truly loves you," Mrs. Price snapped, her fake graciousness vanishing. "You think you're so special now with your cars and your money?" "I was special even when I had nothing," I cut in coldly. "You just didn't recognize it." Logan finally spoke up. "Ava, please. Can we just talk? In private." I looked him up and down. He'd lost weight. His watch looked like a rental. His eyes had the desperation of a man who knew his next move could be his last. "No." He blinked. "No. You heard me," I said sweetly. "And if you don't leave in the next 30 seconds, I'll call security to escort you off my property." Again. Mrs. Price stood so abruptly she nearly knocked over her knockoff purse. "You'll regret this." I smiled. "Not as much as you will." After they left, I sat back down and picked up my tea. "Do you feel better?" Lily asked, walking in from the next room. "Not yet," I replied. "But soon." Because it wasn't just Logan who needed to fall. It was Serena Cross too. Later that night, I opened my laptop and pulled up the folder marked Cross Serena. In my past life, she was Logan's secret. The side chick. The so-called poor girl from a broken family who needed help. The girl who always had just the right sob story, the right short skirt, the right timing. While I cleaned the dishes, he gave her diamond bracelets. While I hid bruises, he wiped her tears. But now, she was just another liability in heels. I started digging. Her father was still a gambling addict. Worse, he owed money to every underground casino within a 20-mile radius. I picked up my phone and made a single call. "This is Ava Sinclair. I need a favor." The next morning, I pulled up to a dusty little bar outside the city. Cigarette smoke and stale beer wafted through the air. Inside, a man with graying hair and hollow eyes was laughing loudly over a poker table. "Frank Cross?" I asked. He looked up, suspicious. "Who's asking?" I tossed a thick envelope onto the table. "Someone who wants you to enjoy yourself." He ripped it open, eyes going wide. This is 10 grand. "Enjoy," I said. "And if you run up any new debts, just give Logan Price a call." He snorted. "That boy still around?" "For now." That night, I received a dozen calls from Logan's private number. I didn't answer. I knew what he'd say. "I'm being harassed. They're chasing Serena's dad. I need your help." All of it, music to my ears. But what I didn't expect was what came next. The alley. I was driving home when I saw it. 2 boys fighting in a back alley behind a convenience store. One was scrawny, barely standing. The other, taller and bulkier, was kicking him in the ribs. "Hey!" I shouted, slamming on the brakes and stepping out. The older boy ran. I rushed over. The boy on the ground was shaking, arms wrapped around himself, face bruised and bloodied. "Hey!" I whispered, kneeling beside him. "It's okay. You're safe now." He looked up at me. Brown eyes, swollen lip, maybe 15 at most. "You're Ava Sinclair," he whispered, recognizing me from the news maybe. "What's your name?" I asked. He hesitated. Then, in a broken whisper, "Toa." My heart stopped. Noah Reed. In my past life, he died in a hit and run. Unclaimed. Wanted. He was Logan Price's half-brother. The one his family buried in silence. And here he was, bloody and shaking in my arms. I wouldn't let him die. When I held Noah Reed in my arms that night, bruised and barely able to speak, I didn't realize yet who he truly was. But I felt something strange. A familiarity. Like fate had looped back again, not to punish me but to test me. He was still shaking when the doctor arrived. I had called my private physician, not wanting to subject him to a hospital where his injuries might get swept under a rug or worse, noticed by the wrong people. That's how these things disappeared. That's how he disappeared in my past life. In that life, Noah Reed was a name I heard once, maybe twice, always in passing. Some street kid, Logan had said when the news covered his death. No relation. Just some thug who got himself run over. But now that I'd seen his face, his jawline, the familiar bone structure, there was no mistaking it. Noah Reed wasn't a stranger. He was Logan Price's half-brother. And in my past life they'd let him die. Present day, my guest wing. Noah stared at the plate of food in front of him like it was a trick. "It's not poisoned," I said gently, sitting across from him. And you can have seconds. He blinked once. Then twice. Slowly, like he wasn't used to blinking without bracing for a slap. He had been cleaned up. My staff had cut his hair, given him new clothes and patched up the scrapes along his ribs. But the bruises beneath his skin weren't so easily healed. Why are you helping me? He whispered. I leaned forward. As someone should have. A long time ago. Noah said nothing. But I saw it, his hand slowly inching toward the fork. Small victories. I excused myself after a few minutes and slipped into the library. I needed answers. My laptop screen glowed as I pulled up files, photos, old bloodlines, press articles. And there was the connection. Noah Reed. Age 15. Son of Caroline Reed. Caroline. The name rang like a bell in the pit of my stomach. She was the woman Logan's father had helped, once, by covering up a scandal and then forcing her to stay silent. She had a child and was paid to vanish. They thought she was gone for good. But she'd stayed in the city. Barely surviving. Working odd jobs. Raising her son on scraps. And now Logan's half-brother had turned up on my doorstep like a living ghost. It was poetic. It was also power. 1 week later. I began to film. Nothing intrusive. Nothing cruel. Just truth. The way Noah flinched when someone knocked. The way he instinctively covered his mouth when he made a mistake. The way he curled his shoulders when he ate as if trying to disappear. Every recorded second was damning. Not because he said anything but because the truth was written on his skin. And I wasn't just filming for fun. I was building an arsenal. Because Logan Price didn't just ruin my life. He buried his own brother and left him to rot. All while playing the charming CEO who donated to orphanages and kissed babies at galas. He wanted the public to see him as a prince. I was going to show them the villain. Later that night. Do you know who your father is? I asked Noah gently. He hesitated. Then nodded. I've never met him. Just heard my mom, arguing once. Said she regretted it. Said his real family made her sign papers. I nodded. That man is Jacob Price. Logan's father. His eyes widened. Wait. So. You and Logan share the same blood. He looked sick. You think he knows? He asked. I paused. In the last life, I said slowly, he never acknowledged you. But he knew. He always knew. Noah didn't speak. He just sat there, jaw clenched, fists curled. I'm sorry, I added softly. He shook his head. I'm not. It explains everything. Why they beat me. Why they hated me. Why they wanted me to disappear. I reached out and placed my hand over his. You're not disappearing, I said. Not this time. 48 hours later. Operation launch. The video went live on a burner account. A slow, heartbreaking montage. Noah's bruises. His flinches. The medical records with his name. His mother's scanned birth certificate linking her to Jacob Price. The overlay text. The forgotten child. The unwanted brother. The price of power. I didn't attach my name. I didn't have to. The internet did the rest. It went viral within 12 hours. Hashtag not your angel. Hashtag forgotten read. Hashtag Logan lies. Within a day, journalists had picked it up. Logan Price's secret brother? Price empire tied to hidden family scandal. CO's dark past comes to light. More footage surfaced. One video showed Logan at a charity gala joking about bad seeds and family trash. Guess who the internet thought he was talking about? Noah. My inbox was overflowing. PR agents, activists, whistleblowers. Even an old employee from Price Corp messaged me anonymously saying, he always knew. He laughed about it. Meanwhile, Logan tried damage control. He released a statement saying he was shocked and saddened. That he had no idea he had a half-brother. That he was looking forward to connecting with Noah and righting past wrongs. I nearly choked on my coffee. Because Logan didn't want a reunion. He wanted control. So I went for the jugular. I renamed my medical charity foundation from Angel Care to Greenlight, after Noah's favorite color. Then I began buying. Quietly. Strategically. Small percentages of Price Corporation stock, acquired through subsidiaries and third-party investors. I had the money. I had the motive. And now, I had the momentum. With every scandal their stock price dropped. and I picked it up like discounted candy. Lily was watching me with narrowed eyes one evening as I reviewed the next acquisition move. "You're not just playing chess anymore," she said. "You're burning the whole board." I smiled. "Exactly." 2 weeks later, press conference. Logan appeared in front of the cameras, looking like a man barely holding it together. "I've invited my brother Noah to come live with me," he said, "so that we can build the relationship we never had. Family means everything." I nearly fell out of my chair laughing. Noah, sitting beside me, watched silently. I leaned toward him. "Do you want to go live with him?" He gave me a deadpan look. "I'd rather sleep in a ditch." Good. He was healing. That night, I posted one final clip. Not of bruises. Not of crying. Just Noah. Sitting on a sunny lawn eating ice cream. Smiling. Looking free. Healing begins when the hurt ends. That post hit harder than anything else. Because people didn't want just tragedy. They wanted redemption. And we were giving them both. Some people get cold feet before their wedding. Logan Price. He got blood on his hands. It happened on a Thursday night. I just finished reviewing a new acquisition deal when my burner phone buzzed. One video file. No message. I played it. The footage was grainy but clear enough. Logan, drunk, enraged, standing in the middle of a dimly lit gambling den, hurling insults at an older man slumped in a chair. The camera angle shifted, capturing the unmistakable moment when Logan grabbed a stool and smashed it over the man's head. And again. The man didn't get back up. He didn't even twitch. Serena's father, Frank Cross, was dead before he hit the floor. And Logan? Staggered backward, panting like an animal, hands shaking, blood spattered across his shirt. He didn't call for help. He didn't panic. He wiped his hands with a napkin, looked around, and said to the stunned bystanders, "No one saw anything. Understand?" The footage was sent anonymously, but I knew who had filmed it. The gambling den's owner owed me a favor. I had bankrolled a few bad bets in exchange for information. And this was gold. I could have gone straight to the police. But I had a better plan. Let them think they buried it. Let them dress up in white lace and gold rings. And then let me rip the veil off right in front of the entire world. 3 days later, Logan Price and Serena Cross were officially engaged. No mourning period. No press about Frank's sudden disappearance. No tribute posts or public acknowledgements. Just a quiet cremation, a sealed obituary, and a last-minute wedding invitation emailed to select guests. Including me. Lily snorted when she read it. Cordially invited to celebrate the union of Logan Price and Serena Cross. Is that what we're calling blood-stained alliances now? I smiled. Oh, we'll celebrate. The venue was the Grand Regency Hotel. Same place Logan once proposed to me. Full circle. I wore red. Not because I was trying to outshine the bride. But because blood looks good on satin. The wedding day. The ballroom was decorated like a royal affair. Champagne towers, ice sculptures, string quartet. But I wasn't focused on any of that. My attention was on the giant screen set up behind the altar, where the photo montage would play. I had bribed the AV technician. Told him exactly when to swap the files. He would get paid double after the job was done and flown out of the country by midnight. All I had to do was wait. Logan saw me the moment I walked in. His jaw clenched. His hands balled at his sides. But he didn't approach me. Serena did. She was radiant in a designer gown, lace, pearls, and a neckline that screamed, money over mourning. Her smile faltered when she saw me. "Ava," she said tightly. "I wasn't expecting." I RSVP'd. I cut her off. Didn't want to miss the big day. Her eyes darted around. "This isn't about the past." "No," I agreed. "It's about the truth. It always is." She narrowed her eyes. "Don't start something you can't finish." I leaned in. "Darling, I finished it before you even put on that dress." The ceremony began at 4 p.m. sharp. Guests settled into velvet chairs. A hush fell over the room. Logan stood at the front, flanked by groomsmen trying to look collected. But I saw it, the twitch in his jaw. The way he avoided looking at the screen. He knew. Somewhere in that smug little brain of his, he knew. And then the officiant said the words. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you." The lights cut out. The screen behind them flickered. One heartbeat. And then the footage played. It was exactly as I had received it. No filters. No music. Just cold, raw violence. Frank Cross, his voice raised, his speech slurred, accusing Logan of cheating, of hiding Serena's money. Logan's voice snarled back, "You're a leech. You think you can drain us dry." And then the stool. The cracking sound. The silence. The blood. Gasps erupted across the ballroom. Someone screamed. Serena spun around in horror, watching her father's last moments on loop. Logan didn't move. Couldn't. His mother collapsed in a heap, sobbing. His father, already frail, slumped forward in his chair. Medics were called. Chaos erupted. And I sat quietly in the second row, legs crossed, sipping champagne like I was at a theater show. My phone buzzed. A single message from Lily. "It's done." Media picked it up. "Stock is crashing." Perfect. 1 hour later. Logan tried to find me in the crowd. He pushed through panicked guests, past cameras and crying relatives, bloodless and shaking. When he saw me near the exit, he rushed forward, grabbing my wrist. "You psycho," he hissed. "You ruined everything." I tilted my head. "I didn't kill anyone, Logan. You did. You think you'll get away with this?" I pulled my hand back. "You're the one on tape beating a man to death. What exactly do you think I need to get away from?" He looked around, frantic. "You want money? You want a cut?" I laughed. Oh, he really didn't get it. "I don't want your money," I said. "I want your name. Your company. Your legacy." His eyes widened. And then I walked away. That night, Sinclair Estate. I signed the final purchase order. Price Corporation, once valued at $700 million, was in free fall. I acquired a controlling stake for pennies on the dollar. The board was too desperate to ask questions. Most just wanted to be bought out before the ship sank. And the new CEO? Noah Reed. Logan's unwanted brother. Logan's buried shame. Logan's replacement. The press release. Effective immediately, Ava Sinclair has acquired controlling shares of Price Corporation. The company will be restructured under new leadership. The acting CEO will be Mr. Noah Reed. The media went wild. Headlines spun. From half-brother to CEO, the rise of Noah Reed. Ava Sinclair strikes again. Empire crumbles. The queen who took back her throne. But I didn't give any interviews. Didn't need to. The footage, the timing, the fallout, it all spoke for itself. Later that week, Noah walked into my office, crisp in his new suit, looking taller than ever. "You sure about this?" he asked. I nodded. "You've earned it." He hesitated. "They're going to come after me." "They already did. And you're still standing." He smiled. "Just a little." "They called you trash," I said, "because they were afraid of what you'd become." He looked out the window at the city skyline. "They were right to be afraid. Money stops. Loyalty ends. And in the Price family, betrayal isn't just a habit. It's a blood sport." When the Price Corporation crashed, the first domino to fall wasn't Logan. It was Serena. She vanished from the media for a while. No press statements, no social posts, no tearful apologies. She wasn't hiding from shame. She was hiding from debt collectors. Turns out the only thing keeping her afloat all these years wasn't her own talent or brains or resilience. It was my money. And when that ran out, she had nothing left to offer anyone, including her brother. 1 week later, the headline hit the news with a violence that echoed in my bones. Serena Cross stabbed to death by brother over money dispute. The article was short and brutal. Her younger brother, Samuel, had been living off Serena's hush payments for years. Clubbing. Gambling. Petty fraud. Once the flow of funds dried up, so did his patience. They fought. He snapped. A kitchen knife. One stab. Clean and fatal. He called no ambulance. Only his dealer. She bled out on the hardwood floor of a rented townhouse that used to be paid for by Logan's stolen profits. Now it was crime scene number 1. I wish I could say I felt something. But I didn't. Serena's fate wasn't tragic. It was inevitable. That night, Noah stood in front of the fireplace in the estate study, reading the article silently. His jaw was tight, his shoulders stiff. He didn't speak. Neither did I. But then in the silence he said, "Am I going to die like her?" A headline. I looked up. No. He turned to face me. "But we're from the same bloodline, Ava. Trash blood. Price blood. I walked toward him, slow and deliberate, and placed a hand on his chest. You're not Logan. You sure? I nodded. Because Logan would have let you rot in that alley. But you're here. You fought your way here. He exhaled, shaky but grounding. And just like that he was steady again. Or so I thought. 2 days later. I should have known Logan wouldn't die quietly. The police were circling him for Serena's father's murder. There were interviews, forensic teams, even talk of a warrant. He knew his time was almost up. But he didn't run. He planned. I was walking Noah to his car after a business school meeting. He was applying to night classes, something small to feel normal again. It was just past sunset. The air was warm, the sky purple with dusk. And then he appeared. Disheveled. Unhinged. Logan. He stepped out from behind a tree, holding a knife. Where is she? He growled, eyes wild, voice cracked. Noah stepped in front of me. Don't move, Logan barked. She ruined me. She took everything. I was supposed to be king. I stepped beside Noah. That's the problem, Logan. You were a cockroach who thought wearing a crown made you royalty. He lunged. Everything happened in flashes. Noah pushed me behind him. The knife tore into his side. He gasped, then again, deeper this time. Blood spurted. He dropped to his knees. And Logan, mad with rage, stabbed again. I screamed. Noah. He collapsed in my arms, bleeding, choking but alive, barely. Logan didn't even run. He stood over us, panting, eyes wide with something between horror and pride. He took what was mine, he whispered. My company. My name. My legacy. Sirens wailed in the distance. Logan dropped the knife as officers flooded the courtyard. He didn't resist. They tackled him anyway. Handcuffs. Blood-stained hands. Spit on his chin. They read him his rights. And for once he couldn't talk his way out. The hospital. The emergency room reeked of antiseptic and cold metal. I paced for hours. Blood still dried on my blouse. Noah's blood. His mother arrived, shrieking the moment she saw me. This is your fault. If he dies, I'll go with him. I didn't argue. I let her scream. Because part of me believed it too. The doctors said the stab wounds were deep. One had nicked an artery. His heart had stopped twice on the table. He's alive, the surgeon finally told me. But he's in a coma. No timeline. No guarantees. Just waiting. I sat beside him for 2 days straight, not sleeping, barely eating. His hand was cold and pale in mine. I talked to him constantly. About the company. About the scholarships we were building. About Serena's funeral. It was empty, by the way. A photographer and 2 estranged cousins. And then I promised him this. If you wake up, I'll give you the world. If you don't, I'll burn it down anyway. The prison. Logan Price was not sent to a luxury white-collar facility. That would have been too easy. Too merciful. Instead, I arranged something else. I had connections, judges, officers, inmates. I wired money to the families of the worst men in one of the state's most violent facilities. The condition? Don't kill him. Just make him wish you did. They followed through beautifully. He was beaten. Starved. Tortured. Photographs were sent to me weekly. Logan with bruises down his spine. Logan with a broken tooth and a black eye. Logan with shaved eyebrows and rat written in marker on his chest. His meals. Rotten leftovers and, on occasion, a mix of things not worth naming. He was stripped of everything, dignity, power, control. The man who once called me angel, now cried like a devil in hell. I didn't gloat. I didn't visit. But I did send a letter. No return address. Just 4 words handwritten. Still not enough, Logan. Back at the hospital. It had been 16 days. Noah hadn't moved. I was beginning to lose hope. Then one morning, as the sun spilled in through the blinds, something changed. A tremble in his hand. A flicker behind his eyelids. I leaned in, heart racing. Noah. He blinked. And whispered, weak but certain. Ava. I broke. I cried for the first time since I'd been reborn. Because he came back. Because I didn't lose him. Because even after all the blood and betrayal and horror, we were still here. Alive. Together. And the Price family? Wasn't. There's a strange silence in hospital corridors. Not the peaceful kind, but the sterile, suffocating kind that holds your breath hostage. The kind that doesn't end unless someone flatlines or wakes up. Noah was still unconscious. The machines beeped steadily, mocking me with their monotony. 16 days. That's how long it had been since Logan stabbed him. 16 days since I saw the color drain from Noah's face, since I watched blood pool beneath him on the courtyard bricks. 16 days since the only person in this world who had never asked me for anything, who only ever protected me, nearly died in my arms. But today wasn't about Noah. Not yet. Today was about someone else. St. Margot's long-term wing. Room 206. I stepped into the cold, musty room where Beatrice Price, Logan's mother, lay wilted under bleached hospital sheets. The same woman who once said, "A daughter-in-law's job is to stay silent." The same woman who called me defective when I didn't give them a grandson fast enough. Now she was barely more than skin and bone. Her eyes had sunken into her skull, her lips pale, the hand that once threw my dinner in the trash now too weak to lift a spoon. Her gaze landed on me like a rusted nail. "Ava," she rasped, her voice rough with age and decay. "Please, help your uncle." I walked over slowly and crouched at the edge of her bed, resting my chin on my palm like I was listening to an old fairy tale. "Help him," I said sweetly. "The same way you helped me?" She flinched. But only barely. "He's all I have," she whispered. "My husband's gone. My daughters disowned me. Logan, he's my only child." I tilted my head. "No. He's not." Her brows pinched in confusion. "No, Reed," I said. "Remember him?" Her breathing hitched. "You called him a mistake. You told your husband to clean up his mess. You never thought I'd find out, did you?" A beep echoed from the monitor. Her voice grew desperate. "Please, if he dies, I'll have nothing." I leaned in closer, just an inch from her ear, and said with the calmest smile I've ever worn, "If you die, no one will even notice. Let alone clean up your corpse." Her eyes filled with rage. Or maybe it was fear. I didn't care. I stood up, brushing imaginary lint off my coat. "Good luck, Mrs. Price," I said lightly. "I hear hell has a wing just for mothers like you." 2 hours later. Blackridge Penitentiary. I had never planned to visit Logan. But something about this day felt like a closing chapter. A curtain call. And I wanted to see the man who called me his angel one last time. He didn't recognize me at first. When they let him into the visitation room, he shuffled like a ghost. Face hollow, jaw bruised, patches of his scalp missing. His orange jumpsuit looked too big. His hands shook. His knuckles were cracked and bleeding. He sat down and blinked once. Twice. Then he saw me. And suddenly all the rage, all the madness in his eyes surged to the surface. "You," he hissed. "You look like shit," I said, folding my hands. He lunged forward, hitting the reinforced glass. The guards yanked him back into the chair. "You ruined me," he spat. "You poisoned everything." I leaned forward slowly, savoring every syllable. "Everything you had," I whispered. "Tao belongs to the brother you tried to erase." The moment the words hit him, I saw it. His pride cracked like a mirror struck by a hammer. His entire body slumped. He didn't scream. He didn't curse. He simply broke. His chin trembled. His fists unclenched. His eyes, always so calculating, now filled with something much worse than rage. Defeat. I rose from my chair. "I hope you live just long enough to know what it's like to be forgotten." The guards began to escort him away. But just before the door closed, I heard him whisper something. "Tell me he's dead." I paused. Then I smiled over my shoulder. No. 3 days later. Execution day. The news ran it quietly, almost coldly. Logan Price executed by lethal injection after multiple charges of first-degree murder, assault, and attempted homicide. No memorial. No visitors. No legacy. Just a whisper that faded before it reached anyone who might have cared. Mrs. Price died hours later. They found her with her hand clutched to her chest, one final panic attack taking what remained of her. She died with no flowers. No family. No one to say her name. The entire Price bloodline, so obsessed with inheritance, ended not with a bang but a whimper. I stood on the balcony of Sinclair Manor that night, staring at the moon. For the first time in what felt like lifetimes, the sky felt quiet. Then my phone buzzed. St. Jude's Medical Center. I ran through the corridor like a madwoman. Hair a mess. Heart in my throat. Nurses tried to stop me, but I shoved past them. Room 407. Noah's room. I burst in and saw it. His eyes. Open. Clear. Alive. Ava. He croaked, voice scratchy but warm. I didn't move. Couldn't. Then I launched forward, hugging him like I could pour all the days I thought I'd lost into his chest. You're awake, I whispered. You're really awake. He nodded weakly. Told you I wasn't going anywhere. I cried. Not silent, dignified tears. Real ones. Ugly, shaking sobs. Because after all the revenge, all the noise, all the power I had claimed, this was the only win I ever needed. Later that night, Noah held my hand as he stared out the hospital window. You did it, he said softly. You destroyed him. I shook my head. He destroyed himself. I just showed the world what was already true. He smiled faintly. What now? I looked at him. At the boy who used to hide behind bruises. At the man who stepped in front of a knife to protect me. And I said, "How we build something better. Pain gives you purpose. But healing gives you legacy." Noah's recovery wasn't overnight. It was slow, frustratingly so. He'd wake up, speak a few words, drift off again. Some days were better. Some days I left the hospital with my nails dug into my palms and my heart in pieces. But he was alive. And that made all the difference. Logan was dead. So was Serena. The Price family was nothing more than a scandalized Wikipedia page. And I was finally free. But I wasn't interested in just being free anymore. I wanted to build. 1 month later, Sinclair Industries headquarters started with a new name. No more Price Corporation. That name belonged to shadows and blood. The new banner above the glass-paneled skyscraper read, Greenlight Corp. Bright letters. Clean. Modern. And unmistakably mine. Named after the boy who once said green was his favorite color. Noah walked beside me through the lobby on our first official day back. He still moved a bit slower. His ribs hadn't fully healed, but his steps were steadier, his eyes clearer. People stared as we passed. Some in awe. Some in disbelief. A former street kid in a tailored navy suit. A woman once ridiculed for being too soft, now owning a multi-billion-dollar empire. I held my chin high. Let them look. They should know who owns the future. Later that day, press conference. We stood side by side at the podium. I took the mic first. Thank you all for being here. In the past year we've witnessed a fall, and now a rebirth. This company has changed hands, changed hearts, and today it changes direction. Flashes popped from every camera. Reporters leaned forward. I present to you Greenlight Corporation, I said, gesturing to the new logo. Our mission is simple. Build a world where opportunity isn't reserved for bloodlines or backroom deals. Education. Innovation. Equity. That's our focus now. Applause erupted. Then Noah stepped forward. I was forgotten once, he said. His voice was steady, but I caught the way his fingers trembled on the edge of the podium. Treated like I didn't exist. Left to survive on bruises and borrowed time. I'm not alone in that. So many kids grow up thinking they're invisible. Well, this company sees them now. He paused. And we're going to make sure the world does too. The room went quiet. Then thundered with applause. Greenlight's first project. I launched it a week later. The Sinclair Scholars Program. A fully funded scholarship for underprivileged youth across the country. Noah personally chose the first 10 recipients. I'll never forget the first letter I received. A girl named Marisol, age 17. I thought I'd always work in my aunt's laundry shop. Now I'm the first person in my family going to college. Thank you for making room for people like me. I cried when I read it. Not because it was sad, but because it was exactly what I wished someone had done for me years ago. Noah's growth. He was thriving. He enrolled in night classes. Joined community outreach programs. Mentored kids from rough homes. He became the public face of Greenlight. Charismatic, grounded, quietly brilliant. The media adored him. And me. I adored watching him grow into everything Logan could never be. He'd walk into meetings now, confident and crisp, and I'd catch board members doing double takes. Not because he was surprising, but because he was undeniable. Sometimes people would whisper, "Is that Ava's brother? Or, are they together?" Let them wonder. Noah and I didn't need labels. We had loyalty, respect, Bonded trauma turned into unshakable trust. A gala invitation. Months passed. Success multiplied. Greenlight expanded into 3 new sectors. We began construction on a new educational center in my hometown. One day, a silver-rimmed envelope arrived. A gala. High profile. Government-backed. An award for innovative leadership. I was the honoree. Noah walked into my office holding the invite, raising an eyebrow. Are you finally going to accept the spotlight? I snorted. I'd rather accept root canal surgery. He tossed the envelope on my desk. You should go. You know I hate crowds. You also hate losing. And if you don't show up, someone else will take your credit. I gave him a long look. You sound like me. He smiled. Scary, right? The gala night. I wore emerald green. Not just because it matched the brand, but because it matched the boy who saved my life. Noah escorted me down the red carpet. Cameras flashed. Paparazzi yelled questions. Miss Sinclair, how did it feel to dismantle the Price empire? Is Noah Reed really your successor? Are you dating him? Are you planning to marry again? I paused at that one. Marriage? I looked at the reporter, then at Noah, who just smirked and offered his arm like a joke. I took the mic. I don't marry men, I said smoothly. I marry empires. Gasps. Laughter. Applause. Panic. Later that evening, rooftop of Greenlight HQ. The gala ended. We returned to the top floor of the building that once belonged to Logan. I looked out over the city skyline, a champagne flute in one hand, barefoot now that the heels were off. Noah joined me. Did we win? He asked. I sipped my drink. No. He blinked. No. We didn't win, I said. We rewrote the rules. He let out a soft laugh. So what now? Now, I said, raising my glass, we raise queens. And fund kings who deserve their thrones. No more Price families. No more monsters. He clinked his glass against mine. To green lights, he said. To never stopping, I replied. Graves are strange things. So final, so silent. And yet, when you stand over one with enough memories and enough scars, they start to speak. I stood before a modest marble headstone, no flowers, no visitors. The name etched in shallow letters. Logan Price. Beloved son. Taken too soon. Beloved by whom? Taken by what? Death didn't steal him. He offered himself to it, one selfish act at a time. I knelt, brushing a dead leaf off the corner. The soil was still dry. No one watered it. No one cared to. And yet here I was. But I hadn't come to mourn. I'd come to deliver a message. You wanted to make me your angel, I said quietly. But instead you created a queen. The wind rustled through the trees, soft and approving. I didn't stay long. Logan didn't deserve tears. He had already taken too many. 2 weeks later, Greenlight Leadership Summit. The world changed quickly when you stopped waiting for permission. I walked through the conference center where the first ever Young Women in Power mentorship program had launched. Greenlight had partnered with 3 universities and 20 corporate sponsors. The media dubbed me the woman who rose from ashes. They didn't know the half of it. Teen girls rushed toward me, asking for photos, signatures, advice. They saw me as a symbol. I used to flinch at that. Now I embraced it. Because symbols, when rooted in truth, became movements. Later that afternoon, New Eden School. Our first funded school had finally opened its doors in the neighborhood I once escaped from. I wore flats and simple linen that day. No designer labels, no press in sight. It wasn't for show. It was for me. Children's laughter echoed in the courtyard. Some painted murals along the wall. Trees, books, stars. One girl sat on the grass reading aloud to her younger brother. I watched quietly from a distance, the sun warm on my shoulders. This was what victory looked like. Not headlines. Not revenge. But peace. Across the courtyard, Noah's POV. There she was. Not as the CEO. Not as the woman who broke a dynasty. But as Ava. The one who found me in a gutter and said, "You deserve more." I leaned against the pillar near the garden as she turned her face toward the sun. God, she looked free. She still didn't smile all the time. She still woke up some nights reaching for ghosts. But those moments were rare now. She had turned everything they threw at her into armor. And now she was untouchable. Kids ran past her, chasing butterflies and light. A few waved. She waved back. I walked over and sat beside her on the grass. Tired of being everyone's hero yet? I asked. She chuckled. Maybe. But it beats being everyone's victim. We sat in silence for a while, just watching the world she built breathe. Do you regret anything? I asked. She paused. No, she said. Because I didn't survive this to regret it. I survived to rewrite it. Back to Ava, final reflection. I once believed love would save me. Then I believed vengeance would. But what truly saved me was power. Not the kind you inherit. Not the kind you steal. But the kind you build, slowly, quietly, brick by stubborn brick. I looked around one last time. At the mural where a girl had painted a crown. Not on a princess, but on a woman standing on a pile of rubble, holding a child in one hand and a blueprint in the other. And below it the caption. She didn't need saving. He became the storm. I closed my eyes, let the wind tangle in my hair and smiled. They broke me to build their throne. I shattered them and built my own. The end.